You are listening to Proof Text, a Glossa House podcast exploring Scripture and all things related to it. New episodes are released daily. For more information, check out glossahouse.com and subscribe to our channels on Spotify and YouTube. Welcome and enjoy.
Shalom and welcome to this week's episode of SLA Insights. I am here with Dr. Doug Smith, recently minted PhD from Columbia International University, and I've asked him to discuss a little bit about the article he wrote recently that came out in Hebrew Higher Education on an evaluation of tools for first-year students looking at technology with biblical Hebrew. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Noonan. Great to be with you.
Great to have you. Thanks for joining me. So first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are. Like I said, you're newly minted PhD. And
Yes, I'm from Bristol, Virginia. I grew up right across the state line. Bristol's the Twin City there. I grew up in Tennessee and live in Virginia now with my wife, Crystal, and our 5 children. And I teach at a Christian school in Southwest Virginia, and I also do some adjunct professoring. I was just delighted to do my doctoral work with your husband, Ben Noonan, at Columbia International University, and fell in love with Hebrew about 8 years ago, and just absolutely love it.
Great. Well, welcome. And you are also the host of Studying Biblical Languages podcast. So a new podcast coming out dealing with how to study the languages, everything related to studying the biblical languages. So great to have you. First, can you tell me what got you interested in technology as a teaching tool?
Part of it was just being someone who enjoys technology, but also being someone who was frequently on the go, especially the language learning. I found myself having to travel for the courses I was taking or at my job at times. So we might be at a Christian school conference or things like that. I was really trying to intensely learn. I did my Greek in a summer. I did 6 hours of Greek one summer, and I was just really trying to get it in and then get ready for some Hebrew. And I just found a lot of benefit of using technology to acquire some of that knowledge.
Great, thanks. So with your article, I'm going to do a quick review here. The resources are divided into following categories: resources to help with alphabet, resources to help with parsing, vocabulary, interactive textbook resources, reading resources, and interactive curricula and supplements. So for each resource in the article you reviewed, you talked about the platform, the price, which is important, yes. How helpful it was for learning whatever it's intended to learn, the website address where you can find it, some discussion then of the usefulness, its value, and then often you included also a screen capture because it's published in Hebrew Higher Education. It's all online, free access, open
yes.
access, so we can get some of those color pictures and so on
yes.
of the resources. So we don't have time to cover all of the resources in the article. You all need to access and find it, look it up. But could you give me a couple of your top favorites? What are some of your favorite resources for learning biblical Hebrew?
Well, I really like using vocabulary flashcard applications. Now, I give a caveat, as I do in the article, that these things can change. Sometimes the pricing structure and some of the features can change and so forth. But I use Quizlet a lot to work on my vocabulary acquisition as well as Memorize, which has a spaced repetition feature there within it. But probably my favorite resource out of all of them that I covered as far as just going for a tool to just keep going back to the news was the animatedhebrew.com website, because you can read by phrases, you can choose a voice to read along with, whether it's the classic Abraham Shmuel recording, which I love. I really enjoy his reading style there, to using that in the context of a Jonah comic strip that you can toggle English and Hebrew if you want, or just keep listening and repeating line after line through the frames. I really enjoyed that. And then in 2020, when COVID hit, it was also the time that Olive with Beth started coming out, and I enjoyed accessing those, and I've used those myself to continue to grow and enjoy Hebrew and also teach.
Mhm. Great, thank you. That will be helpful for our viewers. What do you use then personally in your teaching? What kind of technology do you use when you teach your students? Because you have Hebrew students.
Yes. I use stepbible.org pretty frequently, which I did not get to cover that one
Okay.
in the article. But it's a wonderful tool, resource. I did mention Accordance Bible software in there. I use it in my teaching pretty frequently. I don't require it. I teach at Cornerstone Christian Academy. We're a classical school that's offering biblical Hebrew to our high school students. And I will use it in that class. We don't require any purchases for that class, but I frequently use Accordance because they have a new structure feature where you can can make a new line, and so you can break it down by clauses or phrases however you want to. And I've also been using one I'd like to, if I could go back and write this article again, is HebrewTransliteration.app by Charles Loader. It also lets you do that. Tell it with Masoretic accents to break the text with.
Okay.
And those
That's
sorts
great.
of things. But I use those, and I use all of the pretty frequently with them as well.
Okay. Yeah, very good. Thank you. Now, at the end of the article, you address some issues for future research. What do you see as the future of biblical Hebrew technology and teaching tools for biblical Hebrew?
Right. There are some things that this being geared to first year students that I didn't mention some of the more advanced things, but there are some advanced things people need to get into that can go back and then be made user friendly. And I think we need more of that. We need people who are involved in coding, software engineering, things like that. Take things like the Foster Center for Bible and Computer, their digital version of the Bibliotheca text, and all that data, and produce some additional tools, whether it's breaking the text down in more readable chunks, or I know you're a big advocate for the diaglot weaves, and I was thinking how tag text, you could have someone develop a program that can set up your diaglot weave by saying, saying, we've covered this vocabulary here, so keep this in the Hebrew, and then use the L1 for the student here. And I think there's just a lot of potential just integrating those things like spaced repetition and with the programming as well. I think these are some helpful ways to introduce and reinforce learning for students.
Great. And if I could take a quick minute,
yes.
Can we talk just quickly about what is spaced repetition? What is it referring to?
Right. Spaced repetition is the idea we get these items in our memory, right? And then you keep having these impressions of them, but you got to walk away from it for a bit, maybe sleep, or maybe even take a day or two once you're learning it, and then come back to it, be forced to recall it, and it just strengthens those connections in the brain, as I understand.
Right. So then the program intentionally spaces those repetitions.
Right.
And some of them are even responsive.
Right. Right. I've seen them memorize, for instance, they have a flower that will grow. And so the stem and the leaves, and then you get all the petals, and then it will say, okay, the learner knows that well enough that we don't have to cycle that back around for a while.
Great. Good. Thank you. Any last words, any suggestions or recommendations for our listeners?
Sure. There's a lot of tools out there. You don't have to try every single thing in there. I would encourage you to read my article and see if there's something that will help you. And even though we have technology tools, that doesn't mean that it's the best way for every single thing. You might use the handwriting app to learn the alphabet. That's fine. But you might just print out a worksheet and do that all by normal pen and paper. That's fine too. But the big thing for me was just to be able to have some things that I could take on the go and not have to carry backpacks, books, and gear to be able to keep up with what I was doing. So just use it wisely, whether it's a primary or a supplementary resource.
Right. And just because it's technology doesn't mean it's good pedagogy.
That's right.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you for joining us. I appreciate your article, and I appreciate you talking with us today about some electronic resources.
Thank you for having me on the podcast.
Interested in growing your ancient language skills but not sure where to start? Glossa House can help. From illustrated readers and short stories to lexicons and grammars, Glossa House offers a variety of resources for beginning, intermediate, and experienced ancient language learners. Head to glossahouse.com today. Glossa House, language resources for the global community.